Hello, I'm Mulan. Before anything else, welcome to the channel. I should mention that my voice is converted to English by AI and actually I have a lot to
سلام، مولان هستم. به چنل من خوش اومدید.
experiences with you translated into different languages. Just don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Leave a comment and let's make this a two-way interaction. A lot of effort goes into creating these videos and organizing the information, including the music. I really hope you'll support me. This segment is about the most basic stage of learning the craft, which is getting familiar with the tools, separating and categorizing, proportions, and understanding the primary products used in the work. Of course, these topics are quite extensive. I mean, I need to talk about adhesives, devices, hair, and the different categories. I really need to discuss each of these in much more detail separately. Getting familiar with the word or the concept of extension. Extension means attaching hair to hair. Now, this extension can be a hair extension or an eyelash extension. In this hair-to-hair attachment, there are various methods of connecting. One of the most popular methods, as you've probably heard, is the one-by-one method. These one-by-one installations include laser device installations, keratin installations, needle installations, and so on. Basically, there are various other names that we've routinely heard. Among the one-by-one installation methods, one of the most important tools we deal with and always hear about is the laser devices. The first thing we need to know about these installations is this. Installations are carried out in three different ways. There are what are called standard installations. In my opinion, these installations, which are the thick 1mm installations, are not standard at all. But in this educational chart, they've been labeled as standard installations. Then these installations are the thick 1mm ones. The next type are micro installations, which are 0.5 millimeter and more delicate, and they're usually used for finer hair. And the third type are nano installations or very fine installations, which are men's installations, and they're my favorite. And actually, in nano installations, we have the ability to make the work as delicate as we want. And the more delicate the work becomes, the adhesives are finer, there's less damage, and the end result is more seamless, creating hair that exactly matches the person's own hair. This device is for micro installations, and as you can see, the head of the device is square shaped, and it usually has the capability that, in my opinion, I recommend. First, my suggestion is that when you are starting this work, start with micro devices. And there is another type of device that is commonly referred to as a laser device. But in reality, these devices are thermal and laser is just a term. We don't actually have any device that is a real laser. I don't know exactly. The device is completely thermal, and another type of device used is the nano devices. As you can see, they have a sharp and much finer tip, and the area where they separate from the adhesives is so thin that you can't see any trace or mark of the adhesives. However, this suggestion is a very difficult one for starting extension work. That's why I don't recommend it to you. Why? Because nano tips, due to their delicacy, are more numerous, and it's preferable for you to start with micro devices so you can achieve the necessary speed and precision in your work processes and ultimately make your work finer, more numerous, and more uniform. The second topic is adhesives. Look, adhesives come in various types. Tablet adhesives, tube or sticker adhesives, and tape adhesives are also available. Adhesives, and my favorite type of adhesive. Why are adhesives my favorite? You see, as I mentioned, tube adhesives. Usually when we want to use these tube adhesives with the device, they harden slowly, which is why they slow down the work process. But tape adhesives come in a variety of colors, just as you can see. Because the adhesive layer is very thin, we can apply it quickly and during work or at the time of. In fact, when taping or sealing the hair, we can use them more quickly and easily. They come in different colors, brown, black, and clear. In our opinion, of course, they have a much wider range of colors, but you don't need all of them to get started. Hair has its own unique story and world, but to start, I can tell you this. That hair, there are different types. Cut hair, processed hair, natural fiber hair, and blended hair. Now, regarding this blended hair in companies that are actually working professionally, the process of processing hair is what is referred to as company hair. Company hair refers to hair that is collected and processed in companies. What does that mean? It means that when you hold the hair in a single bundle in front of you, you can see that depending on the type and quality grade, the hairs are stacked on top of each other at different lengths. We have a term called double drawn hair. Double drawn hair is hair that during the company's processing stage, it comes in different lengths like 40, 50, 60 centimeters and so on. For example, hair that is sold to you as 60 centimeter hair only has a thin portion that is actually 60 centimeters long. And in fact, the higher the percentage of actual 60 centimeter hair, the better. That's why my recommendation is always to use high quality hair that has been carefully selected, hair that doesn't have split ends. Also, naturally, the ends of the hair don't become thin. In companies, these hairs are sorted strand by strand and actually arranged in uniform lengths on top of each other. It's not like when you buy hair, half of it is short. And you see thinning in the 60 centimeter hair. Because usually these types of hair are very low quality in the market, since one of the actual criteria for determining quality at the end of the process is that the hair should be completely uniform, meaning the top part near the scalp is full and the ends of the hair, which is the most important part for the beauty of the hair, should not look sparse. And in fact, this is one of the factors by which we can determine what score this extension gets. Choosing the right hair is important. The hair is usually in natural colors, based on the pigment they have, their texture, style, uniformity, and health. This is actually how pricing is determined. I will definitely make a separate video about hair where I will explain all the options for identification, categorization, pricing by centimeter, different styles, and so on. I will thoroughly explain all the topics that I need to cover about hair. The next topic is the clips. Based on my experience, I usually choose 3 types of clips. I select them. Medium clips, which are usually the traditional old clips. There are clippy clips, which are the strip clips that cover the hair in rows and are considered the main type. And my favorite are the shorty clips, which are very metallic and firm. These clips are usually used for grabbing the lint from each row. Row of music. It definitely needs to be used because it makes the work much cleaner and more precise. The next item is my favorite, which I always use in my life. It's my work timer. I record the times and always compete with myself. Right now, in 5 installations, we've reached a record of 9 minutes and we're trying to reduce this time to much, much less by managing all the work options. And the only way to do this is to always have this timer on the table. Always check the time with focus and precision and try to beat your own time and your own record. In this work, I want to explain the very first step of your training. That is how to attach the hair and how to separate the rows. The rows are separated wig style and the hair is installed in nano sections placed exactly next to each other. This helps you create a weave at the end that matches the person's own hair exactly. In fact, good extensions are those that you can never tell are extensions. You can't tell that their hair is extended. The first step for installation is to separate the first section of the person's own hair. Look, for separating a section from the person's own hair, the best and most standard way is to take an amount of the person's hair, depending on the texture of their hair. We determine this amount ourselves, but in this case, the hair is both strong and thick. That's why we don't need to take a very large section where we're going to attach the extension. We take the smallest possible amount, because this hair is strong enough to actually handle an attachment that's less than 0.5 millimeter thick. So look, when we want to select a section of the person's own hair, the section we choose must be very thin in size. It should be at least 0.5 millimeter of hair so that we can attach a nano extension to it. Look, this part is very important. When I actually hold this in my hand, I keep 3 of my fingers on the base of the work on the person's own hair so that no stray hairs or hairs from underneath get caught up in my work. Usually in extension training videos, I've seen that they use a type of plastic clip. I don't recommend that because in my opinion, this method of extension makes the work weak and slow. And honestly, I don't like it. I never choose it at all. In this process, the section of the person's own hair that we've selected, we can use our hand instead of those thin plastic clips. Lay 3 of your fingers flat on the work surface and hold this hair up with your other 2 fingers. Once you're holding it, take a strand of hair you have. Now, whatever thickness it is, 0.5 millimeter or 1 millimeter, place it on your own hair. See, it's that simple. I'm holding it in my hand like this. I place it on top and hold it in place. This is how I'm holding it. See how it looks. When you hold this up, see, when I hold it like this, then I can move my hand without having to constantly move it up and down. Did I hold it right on the chest area? When I thoroughly wet the chest area with confidence, I quickly wrap the chest area all the way around and try, especially in the first few passes, to check all around the work with my eyes. If there's not enough chest, should I recharge it? Look, in the first step, I hook it with my nail and separate a section of hair about 0.5 millimeter thick. 3. I lay the base of the hair on the work surface with my supporting finger and I hold it in place with my finger, the hair that I'm about to attach. Look, I hold it right on the same hair, making full contact with the person's own hair, and then I bring the device close. When the glue melts, I quickly wrap my hand all the way around. I twist the hair and glue, then move on to the next one. I place them exactly side by side, making sure there's no gap between them. And if there's supposed to be any spacing, if the hair is going to be less dense in some areas, the gaps should be between the rows, not between the hair attachments themselves. There are so many important points when it comes to installation, glue, products, rows, styles, and similarities. These topics are so extensive that I've decided to keep producing content for a long time. And I really want this to be a two-way interaction, so please comment your questions and the styles you like. You can easily comment on the styles you're interested in, and we'll stay closely connected. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and like. Let your support help make this process more sustainable and ongoing.